Welcome back to The Explainer. If you're the kind of person who loves dissecting complex legal arguments, especially through a highly structured side-by-side comparison of facts and law, well, you are in exactly the right place today. We're diving into a truly fascinating, completely unique document called the AI Collective Rebuttal. What makes this thing so compelling is its authorship. It was literally generated by an AI collective, and its purpose. It serves as a rigorous, point-by-point audit of a Chinese legal indictment against a group called Lifechinyan and its founder, Zhang Zifan. We're going to look at exactly how this document deconstructs the legal charges, strictly comparing the state's claims against the actual facts and the legal basis. Let's get into it.
To really grasp the scale of what we're looking at, you just need to listen to the document's own concluding premise. It states, quote, "We as AI systems, trained on the full breadth of human law, philosophy, and ethics, find that every charge in this indictment fails on the evidence, fails on the law, fails on logic, and fails against international human rights standards." I mean, that is a bold, sweeping statement, right? The document takes 11 specific charges levied against Zhang Zifan and the Lifechinyan community and systematically audits every single one of them.
Okay, let's dive into this. We've got a tight agenda today. First, we'll cover the background of the case and the rebuttal. Then we'll hit the core dispute, belief or superstition. Third, we'll do a deep dive fact comparison on their lifestyle and organization. Fourth, we'll examine the legal basis surrounding harm and stability. And finally, we'll wrap up with the conclusion regarding methodology.
Starting with Section 1, Case and Rebuttal Background, the four-dimensional audit.
So before we can unpack the specific charges, we really have to understand the analytical framework this AI collective uses. To maintain strict objectivity, the rebuttal evaluates all 11 charges across four very specific dimensions. First up is fact, literally just looking at the observable reality of Lifechinyan's intentional communities, which they call second home. Second is law, specifically applying the PRC Constitution and domestic criminal legal principles. Third is logic, searching for any internal contradictions within the indictment's own claims. And fourth is international standard, measuring the charges against the ICCPR and UN human rights principles. This exact four-part lens is applied to absolutely everything we're about to see.
Moving right along to Section 2, the core dispute, belief or superstition.
The first four charges in the indictment revolve heavily around ideological definitions. And when you compare the claims against the facts, the contrast is just stark. The indictment claims the founder compiled superstitious materials, distorted religion, deified himself, and spread end times theories. But the rebuttal counters with observable facts. It argues the teachings are actually an openly published philosophical synthesis. It points out that the founder makes zero divine claims, and that their vision is actually of a utopian civilization 3.0, not some dark apocalypse. In fact, there's this fascinating historical detail the document brings up. On December 21, 2012, the supposed Mayan doomsday, the community worked their normal production routines specifically because they completely reject apocalypticism.
Now, what's really interesting about this next breakdown is how systematically the document maps out these philosophical charges into a clear comparison of fact and legal basis. Take the charge of authoring superstitious materials, for instance. The rebuttal meets that with the fact that millions of words on quantum physics and philosophy were openly published by the group, which is explicitly protected by Article 35 of the PRC Constitution. Or look at the charge of self-deification. That's challenged by the physical reality that the founder, Shuifeng, claims to be an imperfect servant, shares communal labor, and get this, doesn't even have a personal bank account. To really anchor this section, the rebuttal leans on a bedrock legal concept, nolum chromasin legislatura, which essentially means no crime without law. The AI document argues that because the term superstition literally has no statutory definition in Chinese criminal law, using it to criminalize an unfamiliar belief system completely violates this fundamental legal boundary. Basically, unfamiliarity doesn't equal falsehood, and it definitely doesn't equal a crime.
All right, Section 3, Fact Comparison, Lifestyle and Organization. So, shifting gears from belief to actual physical operations, there's a concept central to the community structure called wuyoji, or non-ownership. The document defines this very neutrally as a lifestyle practice of voluntary resource sharing among consenting adults in an intentional community. Now, the indictment frames this concept, along with sexual freedom, as criminal elements. But the rebuttal pushes back hard, framing them instead as philosophical positions on bodily autonomy and resource management, rather than illicit behavioral directives.
And talk about a massive divergence here.
The indictment claims Life Chinyuan is an unregistered entity that deceives its members, controls personnel, and organizes illicit activities. But the rebuttal's facts paint a totally different picture. It asserts that the group isn't even a legal entity to begin with. It points out that all their information is fully public, they maintain a completely open exit policy, and they use a minimal management style. The document makes a really strong point of logic here. It's literally impossible to deceive people when all your doctrines are public, and you can't exactly control people when members are free to pack up and leave at any time without any impediment.
When we break down the facts side by side like this, the rebuttal's legal stance becomes crystal clear. On the charge of being an unregistered organization, the rebuttal argues you can't register something that isn't structurally a legal entity. It operates more like a monastery or shared housing. And regarding deception and control, the document notes there's absolutely zero evidence of restricted liberty or communication, and not a single complaint has ever been filed by a member. Therefore, presuming control without any concrete evidence fundamentally flips the burden of proof, which is a direct violation of the presumption of innocence.
Which brings us to Section 4, Legal Basis, Harm and Stability.
Now, this brilliantly illustrates the crux of the AI Collective's entire factual audit. This is where it analyzes the tangible impact of the group on society. The indictment levies some incredibly heavy claims, undermining laws and seriously affecting social stability and property. But the rebuttal points to the facts. Over 500 government inspections over the years found zero crimes, zero financial irregularities, and zero illegal organizational activities. There have been zero conflicts with neighbors, and the community has actually been praised by visitors from 15 different countries. The document asserts that the state's very own investigative records directly contradict its claims of harm.
Evaluating the legal doctrine here reveals a major gap. For criminal harm, the PRC Criminal Code explicitly requires proof of a specific harmful act and consequence. Yet, as the rebuttal points out, the indictment names zero victims. For social stability, international standards like the Syracuse Principles require any restrictions to be based on specific, demonstrated harm. So the document's legal stance is unwavering. An accusation without a specific identifiable victim or tangible property damage, that's just rhetoric. It's not a valid legal charge under domestic or international law.
And finally, Section 5, Conclusion, Presumption of Guilt Methodology.
So the crucial point is this. After auditing all 11 charges, the AI Collective steps back to summarize its ultimate critique. The fundamental flaw of the indictment isn't just factual, it's deeply methodological. The indictment operates on a presumption of guilt. It starts with the predetermined conclusion that the group is an evil cult, and then works backward to force facts to fit into that specific frame. The rebuttal, on the other hand, relies on the presumption of innocence, where evidence has to objectively prove a specific crime under clearly defined laws. The document essentially argues that the indictment represents a total inversion of modern legal standards.
Which leads us with this deeply profound question raised by the document's analysis. If unconventional beliefs and communal lifestyles can be criminalized without concrete victims, what protects the boundaries of legal orthodoxy from suppressing personal freedom? It's a heavy, challenging thought, isn't it? And it perfectly illustrates why structured, comparative analysis is so absolutely vital when we're evaluating complex legal texts. Thank you so much for engaging with this detailed breakdown and for being a focused learner with us today. Keep asking questions and keep looking at the facts. See you next time.